Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom, and we have a special show for you today. You see, on our live show a couple weeks ago, we got sent in a super chat, and our deal was if you were the MVP of that show, you got to recommend a topic for the Chiefs Report to talk about. So, if you want to do that, well, then join our live shows, 3 p.m. Central Time. And if you're the MVP, guess what? You could pick a segment for the Chiefs Report to do coming up on our next live show. Jordan Ramsey was our winner last week. He was the one to send in $2 and a couple of $2, so he was the winner. His question was, what are the top 5 linemen the Chiefs might draft? Like the option, like the segment, but hey, let's go even deeper. Let's go top 10 offensive linemen that I could see the Chiefs going with here as we get closer to the NFL draft. All right, let's look at the Chiefs' options. The Chiefs have been rumored to be looking at an offensive lineman at pick number 32. It's O-lineman or wide receiver, and I think it's becoming clearer and clearer. Those are the only 2 options. I know that they said that everything was on the table. I don't believe that. I think they are going to look at 2 places. Their depth chart is solid. Tooney, Humphrey, Smith, and Taylor are all great. Wanya Morris just doesn't have a lot of experience is my bigger thing. I don't think it's not that they don't trust him. It's just he hasn't had that ability to build up the trust. He did play a little bit last year. He played in 8 games. I know he started in 3. He did allow 2 sacks, 7 hits, and 15 pressures. So not the greatest stats for 8 games, especially when you consider he only started really in 3 and played a majority of in probably 4. So not the best, but at the same time, first year out of Oklahoma, it takes some time to kind of get used to the NFL. It takes some time. So I think he can be one that could grow and be better this year. So maybe that's something you look at. But maybe the Chiefs decide, let's just try and help it out from day 1 and get a offensive lineman in round 1. Do you think that this is a smart decision? Let me know in the comment section down below. Type Y for yes if you think this is something that would be smart. Type in for no if you think, Jace, I don't want them to draft somebody. That would be stupid. All right, let's look at the outside options here first. The first one being Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. Hey, Wanya, you may know him. Now, the reason this is an outside option, you're probably going to have to trade up for him. That being said, if you do, you may not have to trade up that far. And I think he fits in the way that you go up maybe 7 picks and he's there. Now, obviously, PFF stats are decent. No sacks allowed, but did allow 9 hurries, 5 penalties, 3 hits. PFF grade wasn't great, 63.7, so I think it's something to take into consideration because PFF, in my mind, is something that people have to look at in a lot of facets, especially with the draft, because you can play against people in college and get away with having bad technique and bad just pass blocking in general, not in the NFL. Now, Guyton played mostly at right tackle at OU. That's where kind of the problem steps in with Guyton and the way that I see him not being an option for the Chiefs to trade up for, because you have to play him probably at right tackle. That just doesn't work. You don't want to do that. Plus, on top of it, like I said, you would need to trade up for him. I think that's very, very obvious. You're going to have to do that. The trade up is something you have to do. Why? He's not going to be there at pick number 32. He's just not. And I know that people may fall. I don't see Tyler Guyton being one of them. If he falls, he'll fall to Philadelphia, and they'll pick him. That's my thought, if he does go even that far. Let's go to the second guy, to Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle from Georgia. Amarius is a better type for me. I think that he is a little bit bigger, and I think he is more of a fit in some ways. I mean, he obviously is a little similar to Guyton, but we'll get to that in a moment. 75.6 on the PFF grade, which is really solid. 1 hurry. This guy played really, really well at Georgia, who was facing some top-tier SEC defensive lines. The thing, though, with Amarius is, again, he played only right tackle at Georgia. You're not going to transition him to left tackle from right. I know that is a thought, but if you're going to draft someone in the first round, you're going to draft someone who is a left tackle because that's what you need. So, for that reason, I think those are outside options because not only would you have to trade up, they also are right tackles. Something to take into consideration. Jordan Morgan is the first realistic option that I have here, the number 3. Arizona, offensive tackle. I know that there's been talk about him moving to guard, and obviously that's something to take into consideration, but I think in some ways that might be not a bad way that people can see him doing that, because you draft him, you pair him with Wanya Morris, say a guard gets injured, say Trey Smith gets injured, say Joe Tooney's pec strain happens again. You can slide Morgan in there, and he can play that. So it's, again, having somebody who is really interchangeable throughout the offensive line. 83.5 on the PFF rank is great. 2 sacks allowed is not bad. 1 hit, 11 hurries. All around solid numbers here for Jordan Morgan. He is the most realistic option to me in terms of the pick and where the Chiefs have it right now. Number 32, almost 90% of the mock draft I look at, he's there, and he's the top choice for Chiefs needs. Obviously, that's not always how the team goes, but that's the way that I can kind of see it. Now, however, there are some other guys that I think would also be more realistic as well. Kingsley Suamataia is one that I really, really like, and we know that the Chiefs may have an interest in him because, well, he visited the Chiefs on an official top 30 visit. He's also going to go to the Cowboys and visit with them. But again, somebody who has contact with the Chiefs is something to definitely take into account because, well, obviously that shows mutual interest on both sides. And obviously, if you're Kingsley, you want to get into the NFL, so of course there's interest. 11 games played, 67.5 PFF grade, 2 sacks allowed. Pretty solid last year. Pretty solid. And especially at BYU, first year in the Big 12, performed at a high caliber level right away and wasn't really too shabby at it, to say the least. It's also not too shabby being back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and I'm feeling really good about it. I know that we have some people on the channel who have gotten their hat from the link chatsports.com/Super Bowl hat. 45% off for the Super Bowl champions. It's one of my favorite hats that I own. It's super awesome, and I'm really, really excited to share this because get it right now. 45% off chatsports.com/Super Bowl hat. It's less than $30, and boom, you're going to be able to wear the nice championship gear wherever you go. And it's going to be a fun one because, hey, hopefully a year from now, we're talking about the three-peat hat that we're going to be wearing with the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, now the Yale offensive tackle, Kiran Amegadjie, the guy who is interesting to me because Amegadjie is somebody that has had snaps at both left tackle and left guard. So he's played both sides or both positions on the left side of the line. He's interesting to me because there wasn't really an obvious split. This past year, he played a little bit more at guard. The year prior, he was all left tackle. So it's kind of, to me, looking like, okay, he has options. He's, again, interchangeable. And again, I think that's something that the Chiefs are going to look at just because of the situation they are in with Wanya Morris. And they think they do have faith in him, but they want to have somebody just, challenge him a little bit. 89.5 on the PFF rank. I mean, this guy's stats were incredible. Obviously, Yale is not going to produce, the competition of BYU or anything like that in terms of Power 5 conferences. Same time, I still feel like, it's a good, Ivy League. 5 hurries, but no sacks, no hits, no penalties. He would be a reach, though, at 32 is the thing that I keep seeing. So this has been an option if you want him, if that's the guy you are interested in. Trade back. Get a couple picks, and boom. Amegadjie is yours, and you don't have to worry about having picks later on because you have some extra ones. I think it would work out, but hey, we'll have to wait and see. So I think it would be a reach, but it would honestly be a good pick if you trade back. Pick an offensive tackle that you would want to see the Chiefs draft. Jordan Morgan, type N. Kingsley Suamataia, type S. Kiran Amegadjie, type A. Who is somebody you want to see here drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs? All right, back 5. We'll go a little bit more speedy on these guys because there are other options that I feel as though are there, but I think more in the terms of second round, third round guys. Brandon Coleman, the TCU offensive tackle, is the first one. He's a bigger guy. Stats aren't amazing, but he didn't allow a sack. His PFF rank, though, is the one that scares me at 57.7. 17 hurries isn't great as well. I know that obviously having Patrick Mahomes, if you let someone go, whatever, it'll be fine. He did play most of his snaps at left tackle, and I think that's one very positive thing that you're going to start looking at, especially in the later part of the draft. If you don't get an offensive tackle in the first round or early second, if you trade for whatever reason, I think you have to start looking at guys who played left tackle because early guys who are offensive line can probably transition a little easier than the guys in the later parts of the round. That's just kind of the way I see it. Blake Fisher is one we've talked about at the Chiefs drafting a couple times, Notre Dame offensive tackle, and he is somebody that I know that he's not going to get in there and start day one. Not saying that, but he's a good fit here in round 2. And I think that's where you could potentially, again, pair him with Wanya Morris, have some competition, make them better, play against each other, and hopefully one of them comes out shining and is the clear left tackle. Will that happen? I don't know. Who's to say? But all I can say is, hey, it'd be a really good pick. Roger Rosengarten, the Washington offensive tackle. He's also one that I could very much see the Chiefs going after. His stats, similar to Coleman, good, not great. 71.4 in the PFF rank is better. 12 hurries, 3 hits and 4 penalties is pretty solid overall. 0 sacks allowed is also something that I really, really like to see. You know, it doesn't matter where it is. If you're playing at Big 10, Big 12, I don't care. You're allowing 0 sacks. You're doing something right. And so Roger, to me, again, third round option. I think it's somebody that would easily be there at your third round pick. You could trade up for a couple of the other guys, but somebody you don't have to worry about, somebody that really, really fits into the squad. Patrick Paul, the Houston offensive tackle, is one that I really also could see. I know that we've talked about him a couple times. He is somebody, again, third round guy. And then Dominic Puny, the offensive guard from Kansas. I know it says guard, not tackle. However, he has the ability to go both sides. And I'm sure you saw on our previous show, he can be somebody you can transition to play both positions potentially. Both those guys are third round options, though, both Paul and Puny. So I know that it's something that it's a consideration factor. Is that really worth, a third round pick? Or are you going to pick someone earlier? In my mind, your first 2 picks should be wide receiver, offensive tackle. Then from there, defensive line, cornerback, just little depth pieces maybe. But the first 2 picks should be offensive tackle and wide receiver. And so it's just about what is the bigger priority and how exactly they see best fit to go about those 2 positions. So a lot of options for Brett Veach, and I'm sure a lot of sleepless nights coming for him because he's got a lot of big decisions to make. But hey, that's the role of being a GM in the NFL. So, man, I'm excited, and I hope you are too. Hit the subscribe button. We're going to be putting out a lot of content over the next couple of weeks for the draft coverage. So, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. We do appreciate hanging out with us, but for now, peace out.